everyone, it's Holly and I'm here with another resort video, and today we're going to talk about the Disney moderate resorts. And the moderate resorts are like the middle class, hence moderate. Can I help you, sir? You cannot go to the Disney moderate resorts. I'm sorry, they do not allow cats. I know, tragedy. Actually, you can go to one of them. So these do have slightly bigger rooms than the value resorts, and they do cost more. They also tend to have slightly higher end amenities or more amenities. Some of them have full service restaurants. They also do have a parking fee at all of them, which is $20 for self-serve parking. I still don't understand why parking costs more as you go up the resort tiers. It's not like the parking lot costs more. And there are, according to Disney, 5 moderate resorts. Now, one of them I feel like should be in a category all its own, but I guess price-wise it kind of fits in here. So from lowest to highest, generally, is the Fort Wilderness Resort and Campgrounds, Coronado Springs, Caribbean Beach, Port Orleans French Quarter, and Port Orleans Riverside. So first we will talk about, it's spring, or like spring is coming. And even though my cat is an indoor cat, he apparently knows and gets like spring fever. So he's playing with himself right now. Anyways, so we'll start with Fort Wilderness. Like I said, a lot of people don't consider this a moderate resort, and it is a very weird resort to classify because it's so different from any other resort. So here you have campsites, which can vary right now from about $74 a night to almost $300 a night. Campsites being tent camping, RV camping, either one. And then you do have the cabins, which are much more expensive, and those start around $425 a night and go up to $816. So you can see how this can be like a weird combination for resort category. The cabins are pretty big. They're 504 square feet, plus you do have like an outdoor like porch patio thing that has a bedroom with a queen bed, a set of bunk beds, and then it does have a sleeper pullout, so it does sleep quite a few people. And then the campsites obviously kind of sleep however much your camping situation allows for. And they have everything from just generic tent camping to a full elaborate RV hookup. So you have full water, sewage, electric, all of that. And you would pay more as you went further and further up that. Plus they do have premium campsites, which are closer to things like transportation, the pool, that kind of thing. So when it comes to food at Fort Wilderness, you do have Crockett's Tavern, which is kind of like your takeout place. Then you have Trails End Cafe, or Trails End Buffet, which is sort of open, sort of not open right now. And then you do have some snack bars, and I'm saying it because it's coming back. It's coming back. Hoop-de-doo review. It hasn't come back yet, but I will hold out hope because it is one of my favorite things to do in all of Disney World, which is a nightly dinner show. For transportation, it is mainly buses, but you can take a boat over to Magic Kingdom directly from Fort Wilderness. Some other things to know about Fort Wilderness is that, one, it is incredibly spread out. It is a large, massive campground. And so a lot of times you do need, or it is recommended that you have a golf cart. You can bring your own, or you can rent them from Disney for about $65 a day. But it is a long way to go. They do have internal bus shuttles that you can take amongst the campground, or you can bring your bike, those kinds of things, but you're going to be doing a lot of walking. You can also rent bikes there. They have horses, so they do have the Tri-Circle D Ranch where you can go see horses. In addition to that, kids can do pony rides at the ranch. Or you can do a horseback riding adventure. We did do that in December. Unfortunately, no video because you can't. I think you can actually GoPro if you have like a chest mount, but I don't. So, but it was very fun. I rode a horse named Vegas. He was very nice. Great. I recommend Vegas. There are 2 pools here. They do have like a campfire sing-along. I think the full sing-along with Chip and Dale isn't back yet, but they have done that historically. Also, this is a very woodsy vibe. It is a campground. It is a very different vibe than a lot of resorts. If you've ever camped or known people who camp, there's like a certain type of person who camps. And I feel like those people would like Fort Wilderness. And you see, if you walk around the campgrounds, you see a lot of people who are obviously regular campers. They have signs, they have things like that. A lot of people come down to Fort Wilderness and spend months there in the winter. There are people who like snowbird there, which is very cool. My parents recently bought a trailer, and my dad is so excited to have the opportunity to camp down there. It does tend to be a little quieter. It has noise in that like camping way, but because things are so spread out, and I think because there's so many trees and everything, you don't have a lot of road noise and stuff like that. It's a different, more like natural noise. And plus you'll have tons of wildlife. There's usually deer in addition to all of the other animals that you'll see wandering around. Next, let's talk about Coronado Springs. I'm actually staying there in a couple of weeks for the first time ever. So these, not including like the suite or concierge level, these rooms typically are about $240 to $550 a night. I'm probably going to need to stop talking with my hands because it looks like he thinks that these are a toy. These rooms are around 314 square feet. And the standard rooms have 2 queen beds or 1 king, so they sleep 4. When it comes to the rooms, additionally, this resort is divided up into villages, and then you have, I think it's 3 villages now, and then you have the Grand Destino Tower, which is the newest addition to this resort. The rooms there are more expensive. They also are bigger. They have a slightly different layout as well. I'll link room tours and videos from people like Here with the Ears down below if you want to check anything out. I think Here with the Ears does a bang up job at room tours. When it comes to food, so here you have the Maya Grill, which is a full service restaurant. You have El Mercado de Coronado, which is like your food court area. Then you have Rick's Sports Bar and Grill, which is also in the main area and is like a lounge. You have pool bars like normal. And then you do have 3 Bridges Bar and Grill, which is out in the middle of the water. This resort kind of circles a lake, and that 3 Bridges is out on that. And it's like a little lounge. I've heard good things. In Grand Destino, the tower, you also have Barcelona Lounge and the Dahlia Lounge. And I've heard good things about both of those. And I think Barcelona serves like breakfast pastries and coffee in the morning. When it comes to transportation, your only option from here is buses. And they do stop at each of those little villages, so that, because this is a very spread out resort. That is one common complaint about Coronado, is that it is very big. I'm posting this before I go, but maybe I'll update you and tell you if I agree. 'Cause sometimes I think people say things are spread out when they're not that bad, but I've heard this one's pretty rough. Other things to maybe consider with Coronado, in addition to it being a pretty spread out resort, is that they do have several pools. I believe each village has its own pool. There are playgrounds. They do movies under the stars like a lot of the Disney resorts. This is also the only moderate resort that offers a concierge service. So if you want to experience concierge, but at a slightly lower tier or like lower price, this could be a good way for you to try it. I have heard good things about it, but people don't talk about it all that often. Also, Coronado is a conference resort. So it is a resort where businesses will hold conferences, and you might see a lot of people here who are there for those meetings. So you might see a lot more people in suits. Also, I have heard that the prices tend to be a little higher here when it comes to food, with the idea being that a lot of people will have per diems, which tend to be a lot. I've gotten a per diem from my job before, and it's obscene how much money they'll give you. And so sometimes when that happens, resorts will raise their prices because they can. Next is Caribbean Beach. I have stayed here a couple times. This was actually the first resort I ever stayed at. I was 3, so I don't really remember it. And then I stayed here again when I was 15, I think. It has since been refurbished, so I enjoyed my stay there when I was a teenager, but I know a lot of people thought it started to feel run down, but have said pretty positive things since the refurb. The price is typically about $248 to $515 right now. When it comes to the rooms, they're about 300 square feet, so it's a teensy bit smaller than Coronado. They typically have 2 queens or 1 king and a like twin pull down bed, so they can sleep 5 here. There are also special pirate themed rooms. If that's something you're into, you do pay more for it. I have heard that the pirate themed beds tend to be a little uncomfortable. And for me, I'm not sure I would ever pay the additional price unless maybe a kid or somebody I really cared about was really into it. But it's a nice offering. And like I said, these were recently refurbished. When it comes to food, like the whole resort was redone. Like the food court was redone. It was this huge over the top renovation. So when it comes to food being like pushed forward by this cat, they have Centertown Market, which is the food court, which I always enjoyed. I know it's been refurbished, so maybe it's changed. But I liked it. It has a lot of your standard food court fare, but some more unique items as well. And then here you do have Sebastian's Bistro, which is a full service restaurant. And I have heard amazing things about this. I am interested in trying it, but I think it is pretty seafood heavy and I'm not a seafood person. Also, the fact that you can get like lobster at this restaurant kind of weirds me out. I'm just saying. You also do have a couple of pool bars here. When it comes to transportation, your main form of transportation is going to be the bus. And just like Coronado Springs, there are multiple stops at each of the different, here they are islands. And Caribbean Beach is also home to the Skyliner. So you can take the Skyliner to Epcot and Hollywood Studios. And this is where the main Skyliner station is. So this is where everybody is going to funnel into to then go wherever they have to go, which I'm sure can make it a little harder if you're staying here, but you also don't have to transfer Skyliners, so maybe worth it. Some other things to consider, just like Coronado, this tends to be a very spread out resort. Now they did remove 1 or 2 islands for Riviera, so it is a little smaller now, but it is pretty spread out. And like doing that internal bus might take you a while. There are 6 pools. There's a main pool and then 1 at each of the islands, which I think is really good. A lot of resorts don't have that many pools, so I think if you have kids or just people in your party who really want to swim, I just feel like kids always want to go swimming. I mean, I was totally that kid. Like, all I ever wanted to do was swim. You spend thousands of dollars on a vacation and your kid just wants to go in a pool. But so you have a lot of swimming options here. They have a playground, movies under the stars. And it is in walking distance to Riviera. I've done the walk from the Skyliner station over to Riviera. It's about 10 minutes, but it's a perfectly doable walk. And in fact, if you are staying at the island closest to Riviera, you may want to consider going to that Skyliner station to get to Epcot, then going to the main one. And now we are on to the Port Orleans resorts. So first is French Quarter. This used to just be French Quarter, I believe. And then they changed the name, so now it's Port Orleans French Quarter. And the prices here are typically about $266 to $488. The rooms, again, are around 314 square feet. Here, your rooms are going to be 2 queens or 1 king, so again, only sleeping 4. These rooms are all, and the whole resort, as the name implies, are very New Orleans themed. And like the whole layout feels very much like I've never been to the French Quarter or New Orleans, but like what I see in pictures where it's kind of like the old style, like what I would consider like New Orleans row houses, and you feel like you're walking down streets and stuff. It's a very nice vibe. For food, you do have a food court, Sassagoula Floatworks, which again has mainly standard offerings, but does have some like New Orleans inspired items, like a jambalaya, I think they have. And then they do have Scat Cats, which is their lounge. This is where you get the famous Mickey beignets. I don't really get the hype. I also feel like I almost died trying to eat one. So could be that. This is also like a jazz bar, so you can see live entertainment here if that's something you're interested in. When it comes to transportation, your main form of transportation is going to be the bus. However, there is a boat that goes to Disney Springs. However, it has not yet returned. You can also walk right over to Port Orleans Riverside if you wanted to. Some other things to note about French Quarter is that it is a very small resort. It is probably the smallest, no, it's definitely the smallest moderate. It feels a lot smaller. It feels very like cozy and quaint. It does make it harder to get a room here, but it does mean that you don't have to walk nearly as far to get places when you're here, which is very nice. They do only have one pool, but they do offer other amenities like the movies under the stars, and they do have bike rentals here. You can rent regular bikes or Surrey bikes. Finally, we will do Riverside. This was formerly called Dixie Landings. This was a resort I spent a lot of time at as a kid growing up. So it has a soft spot in my heart, you know. This is around the same prices, about $266 to $520 a night. And the rooms are again about 314 square feet. However, here your rooms are typically 2 queens and a king if you are staying in the Magnolia Bend section. But if you are staying in the Alligator Bayou section, then you will usually get 2 queens and a pull down Murphy, like a twin, so you can sleep 5. This is one of the reasons my family stayed here a lot, is because there were 5 of us. Magnolia Bend tends to be a little like classier, fancier, and then Alligator Bayou is more like country themed down south. They do also have specialty rooms here. They are the royal rooms. They are Princess and the Frog themed. Again, it's a cute concept, but to me it doesn't seem worth the price. Riverside also does, for an extra fee, have dog-friendly rooms here where you can bring your dog with you if that is something you are interested in. Also, back to Fort Wilderness, you can bring a dog or a cat with you there. You just have to provide proof of vaccination. When it comes to food, you have Riverside Mill, which is going to be your food court, and then you have pool bars, and then you have boat rides, which is a full-service restaurant. Historically, this restaurant has probably been like the most hated and poorly reviewed restaurant, but ever since it reopened, it seems to be getting very positive reviews. I've never eaten there, but people are raving now. I'm not sure I would go out of my way to eat there, but maybe you would. When it comes to transportation, it is just like French Quarter. You are primarily focusing on buses, but they do also have that boat that goes to Disney Springs that is not currently running. It's a nice boat ride when it is running though. Some other things to think about. This is connected to French Quarter. The nice thing about that is like you can kind of eat at both of them if you want to try something different or just check out the other resort. It is pretty spread out. Alligator Bayou is the furthest one away from the like food court and main areas of the resort. So it's definitely going to be a more walking heavy trip, but it's not like Caribbean Beach or Coronado Springs. They do have 6 pools, so again, tons of pools, which is very helpful. They also have movies, again, bike rentals, just like at French Quarter, the regular bikes or a Surrey bike. Additionally, they've historically offered like cane pole fishing. As far as I can tell, they're not doing that right now, but maybe that will come back. Also, they do offer horse-drawn carriages. So they come from here and then they do go down to French Quarter. I believe I've seen them down there. So they do carriage rides over at Fort Wilderness, but you can do them here too, along the water and through the resort. And it is very nice to hear the horses doing their little clippity-cloppity when you're walking around. So that was my probably talking too fast overview of the moderate resorts at Walt Disney World. I've actually stayed at all of them except Fort Wilderness and Coronado. I'll be staying at Coronado in a couple of weeks, and I've enjoyed all of my stays. I think I used to say Riverside was my favorite, but I stayed at French Quarter a couple years ago with my dad, and it was very nice. And you're right there by Riverside, so you can go over there. Like, we went over there for dinner one night, at the food court, but you have the smaller vibes of the French Quarter, and it is a very pretty resort, but maybe Coronado will blow me away. So yes, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!